Imagine living in a time when oppression dominates every aspect of life. Fear is constant, challenges seem insurmountable, and hope becomes a scarce resource. Now, picture a simple man, hidden, insecure, and without prospects, being called to lead a grand mission. Seems unlikely? Yet, this is the journey of someone chosen for something much greater than he could have imagined. Welcome to the Sabadoria Myliner channel. In today's video, we will dive into the incredible journey of Gideon, an ordinary man who, through faith, became a powerful instrument in God's hands. We will explore 3 fundamental lessons that can transform your journey. And remember, we want to hear your opinion. Share in the comments what this story teaches your heart. Gideon's story takes place during a dark period for the people of Israel. Oppression was overwhelming, the enemy seemed invincible, and any hope of liberation seemed distant. Even so, God chose an apparently insignificant man to lead his people to victory. What can we learn from this journey? Let's delve into these lessons and understand how faith can lead us to extraordinary results. Lesson 1. God sees beyond our limitations. Gideon was just a farmer living in a small village of the tribe of Manasseh. He saw himself as someone without relevance, belonging to an unimportant family. However, when God sent him an angel, the words were striking, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Imagine someone fearful, hiding, being called courageous by God. This leads us to an essential reflection. How often do we see ourselves only through our weaknesses and not through the potential that God sees in us? Many times, our insecurities obscure our true purpose. However, God does not see us only for what we are today, but for what we can become through Him. Gideon's response to the angel reflects the questions many of us ask. If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? It is natural to doubt when facing difficulties, but this story teaches us that God's vision of us is much broader than we can comprehend. The big question is, are we allowing our fears to define our identity? Or are we willing to trust in what God says about us? Lesson 2. Faith requires concrete steps, even in the face of uncertainties. Even though he was afraid, Gideon decided to obey God's command. His first great challenge was to tear down the altar of Baal, an idol worshipped by his own people. He knew this act would cause outrage, but he went ahead anyway. This attitude teaches us something essential. Faith is not just a feeling but a commitment that requires concrete actions. Many times, following God's call means facing criticism, rejection, and even persecution. But true trust in the Lord drives us to act, even when we are full of uncertainties. Even so, Gideon felt afraid. To strengthen his confidence, he asked God for signs. First, he placed a piece of wool on the ground and asked that only it be wet with dew. God granted it. Then, he asked for the opposite, that the wool remain dry and the ground be wet. God answered again. This episode shows us that God understands our weaknesses and is willing to strengthen our faith. However, we also learn that we cannot base our trust only on visible signs. True faith transcends what we can perceive. Now, imagine yourself in Gideon's position. What if God asked you to do something that seemed impossible? Would you be willing to act? Lesson 3. Victory only happens when we fully trust in God. Gideon gathered an army of 32,000 men to face the Midianites. It was a considerable number, but God had other plans. To ensure that the glory of victory was entirely His, God reduced this army to only 300 warriors. The battle plan was unusual. No swords or complex military strategies. Instead, God instructed Gideon to use torches, clay pots, and trumpets. At the right moment, Gideon's men blew their trumpets, broke the pots, and raised the torches. The result? The enemy army was thrown into panic and ended up destroying itself. This lesson teaches us something fundamental. Our greatest victories do not come from our strength but from our total dependence on God. Many times, God places us in situations where our only option is to trust in Him. It is in these moments that His glory is most clearly manifested. Now think, in what areas of your life do you need to depend more on God? Gideon's journey teaches us to see beyond limitations, to act with faith even when fear paralyzes us, and to fully trust in God, even when everything seems unlikely. His story reminds us that, in God's hands, even the weakest can become powerful instruments to fulfill great purposes. May these lessons strengthen your journey and encourage you to live with more faith, boldness, and trust in the Lord. And remember, just as Gideon was, you too can be used by God to accomplish extraordinary things. Thank you for watching this video. We ask that you subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, activate the notification bell to be informed about our posts. See you in the next video.